Who wants to get flushed down a toilet with Hugh Jackman? Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we're here with my blind reaction to Flushed Away. This is a DreamWorks movie, but it is also an Aardman movie. So for those who may not know Aardman, they are the company who did Wallace and Gromit and Chicken Run. They have a pretty well-known style with their stop motion claymation style. And they have a very specific look to it all. Like you see an Aardman character, you recognize the face, the expressionism, just all of that. And I believe they're a British company, because I know Wallace and Gromit is British. But they've clearly worked on American productions. Like I believe Chicken Run, those movies are American, and this movie, to the best of my knowledge, is as well. So what do I know about Flushed Away? Well, I know this movie came out and was kind of this actually well marketed movie back in the day that I just never saw for whatever reason. Here's the funny thing. This movie came out, let me check here just to be absolutely sure. 2006. This movie came out in 2006. Do you know how old I was in 2006? I was 14 years old. I was at a point in my life where this just didn't appeal to me. And don't get me wrong, I still watched animated stuff, but it's like something like this specifically just didn't appeal to me. And I think part of it was because it was around that time, I want to say, when I started to kind of really fall away from the entire potty humor thing. And a movie being called Flushed Away, and the main premise about being a rat, about the main premise of it being a rat being flushed down a toilet and starting a new life. It's like, why would that appeal to me? So I never really thought too much about it. But I do remember at the time seeing trailers for it, seeing seeing I think Happy Meal toys. I want to say Happy Meals had toys for this movie. Seeing advertisements and stuff, and it's like this was pretty, like I said, pretty well advertised. It was all over the place, and I had friends who were into it. But for whatever reason, I just never did. I never got into it. And now, here we are almost 20 years later. Really makes me feel old, thanks for that. Almost 20 years later, in 2024. And I am finally getting around to seeing this. And you can thank Venom for that, because this is a donation reward for Venom. So, yeah. What are my thoughts going into this? Like I said, I know this is about a rat who gets flushed down the toilet, starts a new life, and he's voiced by Hugh Jackman. Kind of relevant right now, don't you think, with Deadpool and Wolverine coming out in just a couple months? Kind of relevant. So, I like Hugh Jackman. I think he can be really funny, and I think he's a good actor and voice actor. I think he's proven himself. This is not a role I would think of for him. But I also wouldn't necessarily think of him playing the Easter Bunny, so there you go. Going into this now, being a lot more generally into animation, and being more of this big nerd about that kind of stuff than I was back when I was 14. It's like going into this now, I'm very much more open to this concept because I think it's probably going to be a lot more than just, potty humor. Especially with the fact that I believe this movie actually did pretty well. I think a lot of people actually really like it. So I'm sure it's going to be a lot more than that. it. I just don't know what to expect. Because here's the thing. I don't remember anything from the trailers back then. I don't remember much of anything. I just remember the basic premise and the star. I don't know who else is in this. I don't know what else about the plot is part of it. I don't know really anything else that I can think of. I mean, it's been like almost 20 years. I can't remember stuff from last week. You expect me to remember 20 years ago? Not happening. I don't remember what I ate yesterday. I have a bad memory. It's actually weird. My memory is like bad for certain things, but then actually fairly good for others. And it's just kind of random what I'm going to remember any given point. It's like that meme from Dan Versus. God, that's a callback as well. I miss Dan Versus. I wish it weren't canceled. Oh well. Anyway, back on track. So I'm very open-minded going into this. I have no clue what to expect from it. Now, I know what Aardman's style is like, so I know what to expect with like the way it looks and the stop-motion claymation animation. So that I am very much looking forward to. As I've stated well in the past, I think most recently in the Chicken Run Dawn of the Nugget reaction, I love claymation. I absolutely adore it as a medium, and I think that the animators who work on it deserve the greatest amount of respect because of how much work they put into it. Claymation, any type of stop motion, really, is just so deserving of intense, immense respect. And I think it's one of the most impressive forms of animation, period. Because, again, of how much work is put into it and how much goes into just even creating a single frame, pretty much, of footage. It's so wild, but so amazing. And it pretty much always works out. Like, I don't think I've seen a bad stop motion movie in terms of the animation and all. And really, in terms of like anything else, I think the only stop motion film that I've seen that I wasn't really a huge fan of was Mad God, which I think we did 2 years ago for the Halloween special. Was it last year or the year before? I think it was 2022. But the point is, that was only because I just didn't feel like there was like any plot to it in any way. It was more focused on the animation and everything than anything else, that it just didn't have time for an actual plot or characters. It was just like, oh, look how brilliantly executed this movie is. And it's like, oh, absolutely brilliantly executed. I just want more from a movie than that. I will acknowledge how technically amazing it is, but it's not going to be a movie that entertains me. Just personal thing. But mostly every stop motion film I've seen has been fantastic. Anything from Laika is great. Aardman's stuff is great. It's like, I just love stop motion as a medium, and I think it can tell some amazing stories with its style. So this is obviously a little older. This is 2006, 20 years ago, pretty much. So it's not going to be as smooth as more recent stuff like, oh God, what is it called? The movie with Key and Peele. I can't think of the name right now. Wendell and Wild? Yeah, Wendell and Wild. That's it. Saying Key and Peele actually helped me figure it out. Wendell and Wild. That was actually, it's a lot smoother and everything. And even like stuff like Kubo and the Two Strings, or Coraline even to a degree. I don't expect this to be quite on that level. Or in terms of like recent Aardman stuff. Chicken Run, Dawn of the Nugget. I don't quite expect it to be on that level. But I'm still hoping for a good movie, just in terms of everything else. Like I said, I don't know who else is in this, so any actors I know in this will be a surprise. Except for Hugh Jackman, who I know is the main character. Um, and again, I don't know what the story is outside of the most basic part of the premise. So it's going to be interesting to see like what else they do with this. But, I mean, the only way to really find out is to get into it. So, before we do, I do real quick want to remind you all that there is a lot of great content on this channel. Every Monday through Friday, we have a plethora of awesome series reactions, and that includes, on Monday, YouTube reactions, or at least YouTube adjacent. Anything that doesn't quite fit into a full series or movie reaction. Stuff like shorts, specials, one-off videos, sometimes like a mini series that just doesn't have enough episodes to really be a full series reaction. Stuff like that goes in that slot. We also do movie reactions every Saturday and Sunday. They're recorded earlier in the week but uploaded on the weekends, just like this one. Just so that every day has something going on for it. And we are currently playing through a couple Let's Plays on the channel. We started Spider-Man 5 a while back, and we are pretty well into it. That is every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Did I say Spider-Man 5? I meant Spider-Man 2. Why did I say Spider-Man 5? Maybe I was thinking PS5, because it's on the PS5. Spider-Man 2 on the PS5 every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Really been enjoying that. It's been an absolute blast. If you're new to it, though, just letting you know ahead of time, the first 9 parts do have some audio issues, some stuff I just couldn't get past, unfortunately, especially parts 5 through 9. But starting on part 10, I got it all figured out, and it's all good. You have to realize as well that I do record them in bulk, so it's like, why are 5 through 9 all having that issue? It's because I recorded it all at the same time and didn't realize the issue until after I already recorded it. So, yeah. But it's my first time using a capture card to record a Let's Play, so bear with me a little bit. But I think we've got it all handled from here on out, for the most part in that regard at least. We are also playing through Anno Mutationum on Saturdays. Due to this only being one day a week, the parts are longer than they are for Spider-Man 2. But Anno Mutationum is also a donation reward Let's Play for Matthew Vasquez. If you wish to know all about how to donate for a Let's Play on the PS5, there's a couple videos on the channel for you to check out. Just search up on the channel PS5 Game Reward Month, and you should find it without too much issue. You should find both of those videos, and they will both tell you exactly what you need to do. Why are there 2 videos? Well, one was just a reminder about it. One was the original announcement, one was the reminder. So those videos should tell you everything you need to know about how to donate for that, because it's a little different than regular donation rewards on the channel. And, of course, it's optional, so you don't have to do it if you don't want to or can't. All good. You'll still get to see everything on the channel completely for free. That all being said, though, let's get on with this and hope for the best. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction because, yes, we do redirect all the reactions on this channel. You know how YouTube can be. It's pretty shitty in terms of its copyright policies. So, to keep things safe, we push the reactions off to another channel, to another website, even. It's just a way to stay safe, a way to keep out those pesky channel strikes, or even worse, a possible termination. I've dealt with a channel being terminated before. In fact, an entire account of channels being terminated before. It's not fun. I don't want to deal with it again. So to be safe, we're just redirecting everything. But on the plus side, that does mean all of you, yes, every single one of you, gets to see the full unedited reaction for free. No paywalls, no Patreons, and you don't even have to sync up your own copy. All you have to do is go to the link in the description below, follow it to the other site, and you're good to go. Should be no real issue in that regard, and you should be able to watch the reaction completely for free in its entirety. And that goes for movies, for shows, for everything that we watch on the channel. But All of that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, as always. And for now, I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, I looked it up. I couldn't find any specific reason why Roddy and Rita didn't kiss, like why the writers or whatnot decided just not to have that in there. But I did see something along the lines that did say that they are one of the only DreamWorks couples that didn't share a kiss, even though it was obvious they were a couple by the end. And that is really interesting. Because in a lot of these movies, not just DreamWorks, but Disney and just animated films in general, when characters become a couple, a kiss is usually how it's shown. It's just a ubiquitous way to display affection towards someone that you are wanting to be romantically entangled with. It's just commonly how it goes, right? But there are those rare occasions where it's just like, yeah, I guess they just don't for whatever reason. Even if it is obvious they got together in the end. Which, again, is obvious here. But I kind of dig that they didn't at the same time, because their relationship was more built on the fun and adventure. Rita's a very ambitious, very adventurous, very exciting type of girl, and she's not like super romantic, you know? Like her idea of a fun date would probably be more like taking the Jammy Dodger 2 out for a spin rather than like having a romantic candlelit dinner or anything. So it kind of makes sense, and seeing the movie end with them just going off on another journey together honestly just works. But you know, I kind of would have liked to see it still. I think they deserved a kiss. That being said, I will say Rita is very, very obviously my favorite character in this. Like, if you've seen enough of my reactions, you would have been able to tell that right away. I tend to like strong female characters who not only can handle themselves, but also have insane amounts of sass to them. And my God, Rita had a lot of sass. Like, the amount of times, like, she's, like, taunting them by, like, smacking her ass and everything in their direction. It's, like, it's childish. It's ridiculous. But I kind of love it in a weird way. And that's not to say I didn't like the other characters, but none of them really just were as fun to me as her. She definitely stole the show, in my opinion. As for the movie as a whole, just to get the general my general consensus on this film out right here, I think that this movie is best described as inoffensively generic. And what I mean by that is, obviously this came out in 2006. A lot of the humor and whatnot is definitely centered in the time. A lot of the types of jokes they go with and everything. Hell, the premise of the movie is basically a big toilet joke. It's like, yeah, it's very much humor that's centered in the times and is very much just not really that funny by current day standards. So you have to take that into account going into this. And that happens when you watch any kind of movie that is a comedy, whether it's animated or not. You have to take into account the humor is based in the time this came out. Sometimes the humor stands up. Sometimes it just really doesn't. And sometimes it's a mix of both. Sometimes you'll get lucky and have it to where, oh, a lot of this humor still holds up pretty well, but there's a couple jokes here and there that really didn't age very well at all. A big example of that I would give, not animated, but Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with Steve Martin and John Candy. Phenomenal film. Phenomenally funny comedy. Not every joke works. There's a couple jokes in there that are offensive nowadays. And technically they were offensive back then too, but standards have risen. Exactly, right, Piper? You understand. Standards have risen, and those jokes just aren't as funny anymore. Like, the one big one from that movie that I like to use as an example is there's a joke that is very much at the expense of gay people. And it's not good. It's the one joke in that movie that makes me cringe every time I see it. But most of the jokes work. Most of the humor still works. With this movie, I would say it's about 60-40. 60% of it does not work. 60% of it is very much rooted in the time, children's humor of the 2000s. It's very cringy, it's very unenjoyable, and it's distracting, honestly. There's a lot of stereotypes that go into it as well, such as people in less than desirable living situations being more rowdy and not exactly as posh and polite and everything. You get the gist. I may not be great at wording it, but you get the idea. It's a very negative stereotype that puts down people of lower incomes in a very negative way. There's also stereotypes about like different groups of people in this other than that, like the French. And it's ironic too because like the French frog, La Frog, is voiced by a French actor, Jean Reno. And it's just like, you did this for a paycheck, I think. I can't see like that I would find that offensive, honestly. I don't know, maybe that's just me. But I don't find too much of the humor in this like actually like super offensive. Most of the humor in this, like I said, is inoffensively is correct, right? Inoffensively generic and mundane. Nothing about it stands out. Nothing about it is exciting or amazing. Nothing about this movie is like fantastic outside of its animation. The animation, the stop motion animation, great. Obviously a little dated compared to stop motion of the more recent years, but still great. Absolute joy to see. Now, the everything else, again, just inoffensively generic. Nothing about it really stands out in terms of plot, characters, music. The music choices, let's be honest, were just generic music choices, just generic popular music. Voice actors, etc., all mostly inoffensive. But nothing about it, while being bad, was good either. Like, out of 10, this would pretty much be walking completely the middle road. I will say that a couple things about it did raise it up a little bit for me. There are a couple jokes that I did really like. A couple things that I found really enjoyable, such as Rita. And I don't know, maybe like a 6.5 out of 10 at best. It's like, I can't really give it any higher than that. If I were to give it a score out of 100, again, like 65 by that logic, at best. I wouldn't rate it below a 60, though. So between 60 and 65, that's the best I can do. Again, nothing about it was really bad or anything. Nothing about it was like terrible. But nothing about it really stood out. Even amongst the time, there were movies that were coming out around that time that were just better in pretty much every way. This movie didn't do anything wrong, really, but it didn't do anything really right either. It was just there. It existed. There were a couple things I liked more than others, but like even Rita is my favorite character in this still doesn't stand up to like my favorite characters in a lot of other movies. So there's that. um yeah, it's just kind of middle of the road for me. Not bad, not good, just there. More good than bad, mind you, but still. Even if not all the humor worked in today's standards. Um One thing I will say, and this is like a this is probably the last thing I'm going to touch on really here, but this is something I really noticed with the cast for this. You notice how stacked this cast is with big name actors. Like, you have some really big ones in here. Hugh Jackman, when this came out, was huge because of only 6 years prior, X-Men coming out. X2 was probably out by this time. It's like he was Wolverine and this big deal and everything. You have Ian McKellen. Like, Ian fucking McKellen. Huge name. You have Kate Winslet. You have Andy Serkis. It's like you have all these big names. And you kind of wonder, why do animated movies do this? And this has actually become a big debate nowadays too. This is not a debate of the old days, and it's not just a debate of the new days. It's a debate of both. But it's just been popping up a lot nowadays, and it's almost weird that it feels like people are equating this as like a current issue, but it's like, no. Animated movies have always had this issue. Why do so many animated movies focus so much on hiring these massive name actors instead of, say, hiring voice actors? They go for these big celebrity names because they sell. Let's be honest here. These big names sell tickets. It gets people to watch. You hear, oh, Sir Ian McKellen is going to be in this movie as the bad guy. Oh, I want to see that. I want to hear that. You hear, oh, Wolverine is going to be the main character of this film. I want to see that. But if you're told, like, oh, this movie stars a voice actor who, unless you watch a lot of animation, you're not going to know, people aren't going to care as much. It's a manipulative tactic to get butts in seats. And the ironic thing is, these movies are marketed towards kids. They don't give a shit. Kids aren't going to care that Hugh Jackman is in this. Kids aren't going to care that Sir Ian McKellen is in this. They're not even probably going to know who those people are. The kids are going to want to see this because, haha, funny rats, funny humor. That's why the kids are going to want to see it. The problem is, even with animated films, all these studios care about are critic scores. What are the critics going to think? They market these films towards kids, but the films, survive and thrive based on how critics view it. Does that seem weird to anyone else? It's like for like a big Oscar bait film or something, sure, I get that. But a children's movie? It's like, I can understand, it's like, oh, parents are going to sometimes see those critiques, and it's like, oh, critics say this film is good, I'm going to take my kids to it. If a kid wants to see a film, a kid wants to see a film. If they don't, they don't. Like, if the kids don't like the movie, it doesn't matter if the critics do, does it? Like, there's just this dissonance that I feel with movies. And it's not just with animation, it's with everything, but it's like, you have all of these films and their entire focus on whether or not the movie did well or whatnot is based on stuff like ticket sales and critic reviews rather than what the actual general public thought. Critic reviews, people who have excessively biased points of view, who, let's be completely honest here, a lot of times are probably paid to give movies and stuff good reviews. And even when they're not, their reviews are, again, based entirely on their biases, not on genuine viewing experiences. You want to know how good a movie does, check the audience reviews. Whether on Rotten Tomatoes or any of these other sites, that's more accurate to a movie than anything else. And even so, that can obviously be skewed in a lot of ways. People have review bombed movies and stuff. It's definitely not perfect. There's no way to have a perfect review system because people are just different. I mean, if nothing else. People are going to have different opinions and everything, and that's just going to skew it anyway. But it's like a public review, just a public review, let's just say that, is going to always be more accurate than a critic review. I don't trust critics when it comes to how I thought they saw a movie. I don't. I don't think it's a valid thing to trust in terms of movie quality. That's why I hate it when people like, oh, the critics didn't like this movie, I'm probably not going to like it, I should just not watch it. I'm not going to go to theaters, the critics said this was bad. It's like, do you have any sense of, like, self to you at all? Are you just a puppet for the critics? Can you not make your own decisions? Like, what the hell? I've never understood that. I know I went from talking about the voice actors and, like, hiring big names, but it kind of goes in hand here. Because here's the thing. They make these movies to appeal to the critics, and that's why they hire the big names. The names the critics are going to recognize. Or even, to a degree, the public. It gets butts in seats, and it allows them to have more ticket sales, which they see as a success. It doesn't matter if the movie does poorly. And the same goes for TV shows, by the way. It doesn't matter if it does poorly, according to reviews and stuff. If they sell enough tickets, that's a win. That's all they need. They'll continue to make movies like that, even if the people don't actually like them, as long as they sell. I mean, hell, that's why you get, like, second seasons of shit shows like Velma. One of the lowest rated TV shows, I think, ever. And yet it got a second season despite that. I mean, it was probably, let's be honest, ordered for 2 seasons before the first season even aired. But they could have canceled it after having such negative reviews, seeing that it was a lost cause. But the problem is people hate-watched it. People watched it out of curiosity and hate-watched it, and so it got all those views, so that it's like, oh no, we're not going to cancel it. People are going to watch it, whether they like it or not. We're going to get that money. Who cares? That's why these companies hire the big names, though, because it gets the money. They hire the voice actors. They believe that people won't see the movie as much. And that's why you get bullshit like Chris Pratt, I almost forgot his name, voicing Mario instead of Charles Martinet. Or even the guy who's replacing Charles Martinet would have done a much better fucking job than Chris Pratt just playing Chris Pratt. Oh, and I've seen trailers for that new Garfield movie. It's the same fucking voice. He doesn't do a voice. It's the same fucking voice that he did for Mario. And the same fucking voice he does for Star-Lord. He can't voice act. Like, oh my god. Okay, I'm not going to rant about Chris Pratt here forever, but you get the point. That's why we get these celebrity voices instead of actual voice actors. And sometimes you'll get lucky and have like, oh, this voice actor is also, or this celebrity actor is also a voice actor, like Keith David. Sometimes you'll get lucky with people like that. But then it's like you get all these celebrity actors who can't voice act worth shit, and they're just there for the name. They're just there because of the name. And that's all that matters. Name recognition alone. Doesn't matter if they have talent or not. Doesn't matter if they can actually pull off the role or not. It's all about making money. And I understand they want to make money. That's understandable. But when the entire business is centered around that, you lose some of the soul. You know? Like, the movies kind of become bad if you focus entirely on that. Or at least mediocre. But sorry about the rant. Sometimes you just need to go off. But in that regard, with the cast in this movie, it's like, I know Hugh Jackman does voice role stuff otherwise. And he did a good job. Kate Winslet did a fantastic job, honestly. And Andy Serkis very much does voice stuff. Ian McKellen was a weird choice, but the point is, I just wish they had gotten some, like, you know, actual voice actors in this besides just the celebrity actors. It just feels like they focus so much on getting the celebrity cast, and I feel like it could have been better with, like, you know, actual professional VAs taking it in instead of these celebrities. I don't know. Maybe that's a me thing. I know a lot of people have been talking about this kind of stuff lately. The Mario movie being a big reason why. It's just something that I really wish that these Hollywood studios would do. Like, there's all these voice actors available who would do so much better in these roles. It's like, why not just hire them? The movies will still sell if the marketing is good enough. If the movie looks good enough, they're still gonna sell. You don't need these celebrities. It's wild. But this is why the best voice acting performances always come from, you know, the quote-unquote no names in voice acting who, you know, just basically aren't celebrities. They aren't big name celebrities, and yet they always give the best performances. Like, you'll never get a performance as good as the likes of Grey Delisle Griffin, or, in that same regard, Dante Bosco, or Mae Whitman, or, trying to think of another example off the very top of my head is not always easy. Oh my god. I had a complete brain fart here. Janet Varney. Let's go with Cora. The point is, those performances will always feel more authentic and, you know, refined. Celebrity performances, it's like you're paying to hear the celebrity. And I guess that's why Chris Pratt isn't changing his voice. You're paying to hear Chris Pratt. I mean, maybe not as bad as Seth Rogen voicing Donkey Kong, but still. Point is, I mean, this movie, like, the voicing was better than some, but it's still a lot of celebrities when these voices could have been done by actual voice actors, and it's a disappointment. But like I said, the movie's still middle of the road. It's harmlessly enjoyable enough, but nothing special, nothing that good. But tell me your thoughts down below. Sorry for all the ranting, but sometimes you need to just let it out. And just as a reminder, we have a lot of great content to check out on the channel. Every Monday through Friday, we have a plethora of awesome series reactions, a lot of which are animated, and a lot of which have actual voice actors voicing the characters. And on Mondays, we also do YouTube reactions, or at least YouTube adjacent. Anything that doesn't quite fit into a normal series or movie reaction. And speaking of movie reactions, we have those every Saturday and Sunday. They're recorded earlier in the week, just like this one, and uploaded during the weekend, just so every day has something going on for it. We're also currently going through a couple different Let's Plays on the channel. Spider-Man 2 every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Really been enjoying that. And Anno Mutationum on Saturdays. The Anno Mutationum are once a week, so they are a little bit longer than Spider-Man 2 in terms of runtime. But it is also a donation reward Let's Play from Matthew Vasquez. If you want to learn how to donate for future PS5 Let's Plays, feel free to check out on the channel. There's a couple videos titled PS5 Game Reward Month. There should be 2 videos, both of which should tell you everything you need to know on how to donate. Or you can contact me in the comments below or via a direct message on Discord. Any of that works, whatever you're most comfortable with. But all of that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. Like I said, leave your thoughts down in the comments below. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.